What I'm doing quite intuitively, although I also really think about things, take my time to reflect. But it's not that I have a sort of plan or blueprint that I'm following. Maybe there it is there, but I'm not aware of it yet.
Mariette, I am absolutely delighted to be speaking with you today, and oddly extra nervous because it is always more nerve-wracking for me to speak to people I know better than people I don't know as well. What was it that led you and your husband, Raymond, from The Hague to Corrahopple, Ireland?
As we were studying law, both of us, Raymond and myself, we had this feeling that we were being prepared to operate and to be active and to have a career in a world we felt was actually coming to an end and was no longer really functioning. We thought it was dysfunctional. But look, you're in your early 20s, right? In your early 20s, you can say lots of things and even, things that other people think are ridiculous. But as you grow older, like 25, 26, 27, when you graduate, people expect you, at least that's how we felt it, to stand in line and follow, the line you're supposed to follow. And we just both somehow knew in our gut at a deeper level that we just didn't agree with it. We felt that something else was going to emerge. And so we continued along that line, and especially Raymond really made serious study of it. I followed, you could say, much more my intuition. So that sort of opened us up, and we opened ourselves up to gathering information about the times we were living in. We've been living together for quite a few years, and then we thought, no, we don't really want to engage, make a commitment here in the Netherlands for 25 or 30 years. And that eventually led to Raymond saying and coming to the conclusion, and the insight maybe even is a better word, that we were living in, the end of an era. One of the things we did was work with astrology. I was introduced to that by my grandmother. And Raymond was advised actually to go to Ireland based on his birth chart, and said, you can start something there. And so he went on a quest to Ireland. And in that sense, a real Irish story. So he went on a magical journey, and he came back. He said he liked it there. He proposed. I said yes. And we went on our honeymoon to Ireland. And I stepped out of the plane and my feet touched the ground. And it was the tarmac at the airport, but I just felt that I was coming home. The background of really moving away from Netherlands had to do a lot with moving away, or you could say moving towards, I like that better, an environment where we felt we could start to work on something new.
You were raised in a pretty rationalist tradition. For you to make that shift from I'm in law school in The Hague and my father's a diplomat and there's a certain way of understanding how the world works, to shift the 180 to being open to your intuition, to somebody's birth chart saying I should be living in Ireland. It's taken me decades to get to where I could be open to those kinds of things. And somehow you were able to make that shift. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think it was always in me because of that life I led as the child of a diplomat, living in different countries. It was a lot about living in other cultures. So I've always been interested and aware of people and different customs and different belief systems. And I'm intrigued by that. I always want to understand the other. I think when I went to university, I was young, I was 17, and I thought actually I was going to go into politics and study after my first political science. But 1 year at the university, I had some subjects on that in that area, and I thought, no way, this is not going to make me happy. This is not the reality I want to work on. So I got that after that first year. So that's when I made the shift. That was before I knew Raymond. And I think I'm a person, I still am, who lives in different worlds. And I like living in different worlds. Of course, it wasn't always easy to find my way in those different worlds, you know. People definitely were not really open to hearing we're living the end of an era, something new is going to happen, you know, the end of a hierarchy as we know it. And so a lot of our work, what we did in silence. The lovely thing was we could share it with each other. And so it was really something we developed together.
So when you say our work, if I bring it back to Corrahopple now, so I've had the opportunity to visit you twice in the most exquisite location. You live in a space where you have neighbors, but you don't see them. They're down the lane. You have this beautiful field with a forest in front of you, forest behind. You have 2 donkeys. It's just such a nurturing place. When you talk about your work with Raymond, what are you referring to when you say your work?
Let's say developing a sort of concept of community, of family. Actually, it started as family, and it graduated into something what we would call the larger family. So our work was really to create a place where different souls really could gather, and they could come and go, they could stay longer, you know, but to create an inn for the soul. That is really what Corrahopple is about. I mean, with that, then, and for us, the larger family is not only about human beings, but beings, right? So also the animal world and the natural world. And all those years that, because we bought this place in 2001, and then in 2008, Raymond was able to come over to Ireland and start to redo the whole place. We were also, of course, grappling with what is this new world then that we're sensing and feeling. So we studied, and Raymond did lots of things in the area of Ayurvedic medicine, sacred geometry. I did a lot in the area of mediation, and I had my job, which was in publishing and then in education, you know, creating a learning environment and working in the arts, because we loved and we saw the potential of art being a medium to learn and learn more about yourself and learn more about others and learn about culture.
So I know that Raymond wrote poetry, beautiful poetry, and he painted as well. And you write poetry and you take beautiful photographs. What are the themes that you explore through your art practice?
It's very much about what in the moment of my own life, personal life, really wants to be there. That can be through poetry. That can be through a song that comes through, or concepts, you know, just ideas that concepts that come through, and also through what I just very intuitively see when I go on my morning and daily walks, because I walk a lot in the nature, as you know it here, and it just speaks to me. And I've started to now, you know, sometimes put these poems and these photographs together, although I haven't taken them or made them at the same moment. But usually it will be, I haven't really looked at it, but it just fits. It comes together. So it's very much about what I open myself up to and just let come up and wants to come to the surface.
One of the reasons I was really looking forward to talking with you is exploring this idea of vulnerability as an openness to what's around us and also what's inside us. And both of those can be challenging, right? To really truly be open to and accept and be curious about and take in from outside, and also be aware of how you're feeling and what's happening inside and bring those things together. And what you're quite amazing at doing is when you tell me what's happened during the week and what has happened maybe with people or with animals or birds on your walks, you have a tremendous ability to bring those things together and find sort of like this one clear concept, this one thing that's being communicated to you. And I find that quite amazing.
I do too. Yeah.
You're really good at it. When you
Yeah.
tell me what you
Well,
figured out,
thank
I'm like,
you.
wow, how did she do that? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is what I love about it, that happens. The vulnerability is for me sort of a state of being. It's like a portal to learn, or to understand deeply about whatever is going on. And what that is, I can go out for a walk with the conscious thought and actually ask my environment, nature, to guide me, to give me an answer. But very often I just walk. But I do a walk, let's say, really with my senses open. So I'll notice the sound of a bird. And sometimes I just hear a message. Yeah, and then the adventure starts, Sarah. For the vulnerability, it's and the adventure can sometimes be a painful one, right? At least when I think about the word vulnerability, it has initially this sort of connotation of ouch, right? And that's actually quite strange, I discovered. And adventure sounds, at least to me, much more appealing. I realized, the vulnerability is, for me, like I was saying, it's more like a portal. It's a portal of deeper understanding. And then all kinds of learning and unlearning comes up. I really, really like that. Even though it does also sometimes bring me to tears, right? Or I am in tears before something happens. But in the end, there's always something in me that knows, oh, there's something here to learn. There's something here to discover. And that is really, really ingrained in my cells. I can't even say in me, it's just in this being.
Would you be willing to share just, and it doesn't have to be in great detail, but just an example, like the example of the pine marten, just connecting those dots?
Yeah. So earlier this week, actually, I went out walking with the dog. It was pretty early, onto this lane in the woods. And I heard a bird call, and I recognized it as the call of a raven. But somehow it sounded different to me. So I paused, I just stood still. And what I do then, I just open myself up. And I just heard one word, which was Maeve. And Maeve is an Irish, a Celtic warrior queen, related actually to a goddess. So, Maeve, I thought, okay, Maeve's active, right? I thought I'll see what happens next. And this theme of, warrior, and has been on my mind, fighting or being a warrior for more as service. It's not about winning or losing or good or bad, but it's about values, let's say, more, and integrity of your heart. So when I got out of the woods and continued on the lane further on, I saw in the distance this mammal, or this animal. And I saw it was a man. At first I thought, is that a badger? Because it was really big. And then I looked closer and I thought, oh, wow, it's a pine marten. And a pine marten is like a really big weasel. And in Irish, they will call it the tree cat, because its face resembles a bit the face of a cat. But what immediately came to my mind was, oh, wow. One, it's a hunter. Two, it was very often seen or in pictures the pet of Maeve. So I thought, okay, something's really going on here. It doesn't frighten me, but I just get really intrigued. So I think what happens is I only open myself more to it. And then the pine marten came closer, and of course, both the dog and the pine marten realized, oh, and Momo went after it, and the pine marten was far away, so it got away. So, but it told me also, okay, it's good to hunt for something, but not to engage into the fight. So that's what it just then tells me. And for me, it's about hunting for light. That is what came to me. So I really associate, and I trust my own associations. I just trust it as being true for me. And I think that's also very important to stress. It's my truth. For somebody else, it could mean something totally different. But for me, it means that. So that's an example.
It just makes me always realize that I still struggle, because I love those stories and I connect with those kinds of stories. But I still have this voice in my head saying, oh no, that's woohoo, that's crazy, that's like, that's not real, that's just,
yeah.
And I have that fight in my head 24/7. And when I listen to you, I find it very calming, and I realize it's because it gives me, again, it's coming from the outside. So I'm like, well, maybe I just constantly need validation from outside, but I hear you speak and I'm like, oh no, this is legit. I can believe in this because Mariette believes in this. And it makes sense to me. So it's okay. It's all okay. And I just have to quiet the other voice that's saying, you're a lunatic. And even yesterday, I picked up a book in a bookstore, and my brother looked at it and he's like, oh God, no. And I was like, so I put the book back, and afterwards I really regretted it. I was like, but that stuff does appeal to me. I can't validate it. It just does.
Well, I understand that. I realized that what makes me happy is that I'm able to share my gifts. But then it starts with giving myself my own gifts and allowing them and seeing them for what they are. I've discovered through sharing with you and how you respond to them that people actually like my story. And that was something new for me, right? I find the more joy I can share, so it's not even the gifts I have to share. Maybe my gift is just my joy. And with this pine marten, when I realized, okay, this is about hunting for light, the most magical thing happened after that. Not only the raven came actually and started circling around my head and a whole song, but then when I turned the corner, there was a beautiful male pheasant, which represents light. So I thought, well, Mariette, what more, what more validation, if you want to use that word? I wasn't looking for it, but I just knew, well, that's it, lock, stock, and barrel, that's it. And I get that for free. It's just for free. It's there. That's part of this place of Corrahopple and the vibe and the vibration, really, that is here. Because it's a community of all those beings. And they know that they all have place here, that they don't have to be afraid that they are hunted or killed. That's actually, for me anyway, the community, or maybe even better word, gathering, that is evolving.
If we could talk about that a little bit more. So I will share that Raymond passed away last year, and that he had been the one full time from 2008, really like hands in building that home, and you were traveling for work, and then you would come and spend time and work with him and then go. And so he was really full time, single-handedly building this place. Now you're not alone, because I know you feel that Raymond he must be imbued in the walls and the trees and everything else around you. But now it's kind of you leading this community building. Would you want to talk a little bit about the kinds of things that you're doing to connect people and connect with people to create that community?
So, yes, Raymond really rebuilt this whole place, and he had a very, very strong vision and an amazing focus. Nobody told him to do that. That was really his life's work. And the astonishing thing, in a way, is that when he passed last year, actually his work and his vision and our vision, it's just has sort of come together. It's like his passing has created the opportunity for other people to come here. There's lots of visitors, which is absolutely wonderful, and appreciation. So that was part of his path. I think the biggest shift I made after Raymond passed last year in May was that I realized that I could continue the work without him physically being here. I sort of play with things. I play with ideas. So I all of a sudden realized, look, of course he's still there. He's just not here. He's just on the other side, right? So we're just going to continue, but in a different way. He's invisible, right? But we create from the invisible. So I don't know what that looks like there, but it's not about me, right? So that has really made sort of everything possible. And for me, the realization, it's just not me doing this. And then here in Ireland and here in the rural areas where I live, there is ingrained in the land and in the people the deep, deep sense of community. The Irish know that better than I do, I would say. So what I do is, I walk. Yeah, it's very strange, or not so strange. I walk, right? I go for walks and I meet people on the lane and they stop and they chat and we talk. And it's about life, right? It's about life. It's about sometimes very mundane things, but also not so mundane. Because the Irish, it's in their culture to ask how you are after you've been bereaved. And they have so many rituals and so much kindness. So I walk, I pass these farms, I interact not only with the people, because they're not always there, but with the animals. So with the cows, with the sheep. I start to learn Irish. I speak to them in Irish, and it's unlocking, really, it's just happening. It's unlocking that ancient wisdom. I know I'm doing that, and I feel like it's making me happy. And there's another vibration here now in the area, and we're visiting each other again. With COVID, people were hesitant to do that. We weren't allowed to. And something had changed here also. So we are rediscovering what it means to live together here and to be there for each other.
When I came to visit, I had my Merlin app. So I was trying to identify birds by the Merlin app. But you walk down the lane, know what the birds are already, and speak to them in Irish. It's just a whole other, I'm such a city slicker. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's not ridiculous. It's just very, very different. But you walk out there and you have that Merlin app and you want to know what that bird is like. It's so different. And that's also part of this place. It's all about allowing those differences to be there. And it's not so much about what we're all doing, but it's much more we're relating to each other as just being. And for me, as I was saying, the animals, but also the trees and the plants, we are all there together. And so we're all evolving and all inviting in something new.
I find it fascinating as somebody who grew up in Montreal, none of whose parents or grandparents were from Montreal. And I live in a city of concrete. So I don't feel any connection to land here at all, like no inside feeling. And I mean, I don't think I made this up. When I came to Corrahopple and I walked out, I just felt like, ooh, this feels really good. It's unfamiliar to me, but I haven't felt that in other places when I've gone to the country or outside cities and other places. I didn't feel the same homeness. that I thought I felt visiting you in Ireland. And I had done the 23andMe. And so I have parentage just sort of like partly Eastern European, Russian and Polish, and partly English and Scottish. So I'm like, well, Scotland's kind of close, kind of, it's close enough to Ireland. And when I revisited the 23andMe, it had updated because I think as people add their data, the numbers update. And I'm actually half Irish or like a quarter Irish. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm getting you. I still need the rational like understanding of why. But in a way, for me, it sort of legitimized this feeling that I had when I stepped out. And I thought, oh, and it's something that is such a special feeling. I don't know how often people experience that. Maybe more people do than I realize. And maybe it's just me that never really felt that way. But there's something so thousands of years, that feeling that you belong. For people like me who have sort of mixed, I'm a white older woman. Like I don't look like I'm not exotic in any way, but I'm a mix of things. Maybe I always just missed that sense of like, where's my land home?
Belonging, well, look, I had that too when, as I was saying earlier, I stepped out playing for the first time and touched the ground and it felt like home. And it could well be that from my father's side, there's Irish blood. My family name is Fruin. You have that name here in Ireland. And it means actually in Gaelic, it would be translated to like to root and to implant. I knew that shortly after I came here the first time. So I too, needed or have been looking for some kind of proof, so to say, explaining why I feel what I feel or that I'm at the right place. This is home. And it really is. So it's for me the place where in this life I am learning and I'm becoming. Corrahopple, it's the inn for the soul. And Raymond always said to me, you will find your way back there if you want in the next incarnation. It was actually something I shared with him when he was in hospital. And I said, well, you know what you made and you can find your way back if you want. He lived his life from the soul level. And I do too. Although, as I was saying, I live in these different worlds. I bridge these worlds and I bridge the different bodies. And when you're talking about community or larger family, it starts for me actually with the family of the different parts of myself. And those coming into a form of alignment then lead, and I think have led and are now leading to a certain resonance, and me moving through my land here and in my reality in a certain way. But this community of the physical body and the emotional body and the mental body and the causal body, all those different bodies, it's for me a big family, and I mediate between those. Coming back to vulnerability, the vulnerability is, am I going up to this sort of other perspective, looking at what is going on and what life is presenting me as challenge and opportunity, or am I feeling more the upset or anger or pain, whatever is at that moment in time? And they're all there, but I know they're all there. That's why I think I can move from one to the other, or wait till something has passed before I can move on, but I know it will come. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, for your questions and allowing me the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Mariette. I really appreciate our conversation. That was wonderful.